Ladies and gentlemen, that was Cristina Pato and Nicolas Villalobos. Thank you so much for that amazing performance. What a great way to start our time. So as everyone gets settled, please come on in. These are meant to be informal remarks of welcome. Good afternoon, and welcome to SphinxCon, the 4th annual global convening on inclusion and diversity in the arts. I am Afa Dworkin. I serve as President and Artistic Director for the Sphinx organization, and it is a thrill to welcome each of you individually and collectively to our beloved city of Detroit. Before we go any further, let me take a moment to make sure that we all identify Abigail Venman, our Director of Artistic Affairs and Director of this conference. I want you to remember the name because she will be around, and I want you to know that this is the person who put the whole production together, not only in terms of content, but all of the amazing logistics that go into it. She'll also be someone that you will see throughout the weekend giving instructions, asking you guys to do some things collaboratively, interactively, etc. So be sure that you remember the name, Abigail. For the next 2 days of SphinxCon, followed by our nationally broadcast finals concert, ding, 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 if you don't have a ticket, see somebody, see Abigail, see me, one of us, definitely have to have a concert ticket for that. We will talk about inclusion, diversity from many different angles. Together we will learn, we will challenge, we will laugh, we will cry, we'll get inspired and have a terrific time all together. But the long and short of it is that for all of us here in the group, collectively, myself included, I have a single question. I thought it would be fun to start with a question. And that question is, can we break the cycle? So this is why I'm asking. Typically, we attend events and conferences, we get really inspired, we get that feeling in our gut, I can do anything, the Superman syndrome. We get all thrilled that we can go home and make a difference and make the world a better place. And then we all enter into a cycle. At least for me, that's something that many friends and colleagues experience and share. And if you're anything like me, this cycle will look familiar. Because it's so important, I thought I would have a pretty scientific illustration for it to share with you guys. So we get to a conference, and the first thing we feel is excitement and curiosity. What are we going to hear? You know, all curiosity about speakers, content, what's going to happen, how will this conference be different than any other, et cetera. So it's a good thing at first. Then the thing that happens is we go home, we talk to people that maybe were in the same conference, or people at home, our staff, our board, our neighbors, our partners, and we begin preaching to the choir, right? We talk to people who already are like-minded and feel the same way that we do. And we're like, you won't believe it. I saw this amazing artist. I saw this great speaker. I really want to do this. We could change the whole world. Everything is going to be great. So we preach to the familiar. And then what happens is we get excited because the people that are like-minded, they affirm our vision and they say, absolutely, you can do it. It's the Superman syndrome. And the next thing that sets in is the zen of the everyday world, right? So there are all these naysayers and all these ways in which, reasons why we can't do what we thought that we can. It's like, you know, what will the neighbors say? What's the board gonna say? What if my staff doesn't like it? So it's all these reasons why we can't actually do what we're doing, and we throw the white flag. This is what we look like in our everyday life after we return, say, like a week after the conference. We're bogged down with the world, and nothing happens. So if we were to experiment and we were to attempt to answer that question, whether we can break the cycle or not, I'm proposing a second scenario together. We come to a SphinxCon, we feel this way, we're all excited, we're curious, etc. And then we get, you know, the nagging thought, you know, can I make a difference? I heard something that challenges the status quo, challenges what I do already, and kind of pushes me into something that's less than comfortable. So I'm proposing that instead of going and talking to people who already agree with you, maybe because they have to, because they work for you, or people who, you know, who are your colleagues, who already think the way that you do, but they don't really have any way to kind of empower or ignite action. So instead of going to the temple of your familiar, I would challenge all of us to try and vet the idea by someone who's not already someone who will easily affirm it. So instead of going to the temple of the familiar or reaching to the choir, I'm proposing that we enter or approach the capella of my dissonance. So go to one person that you don't normally talk to. Go to one person who will help you vet the idea, or even try and poke some holes and think through as to why, maybe constructively speaking, the idea isn't good, but maybe something else as a result of thought, even if it makes you uncomfortable, will actually lead to change, lead to action. So, and that's really what I want to spend our weekend doing, is talking about action, making a difference, doing something that is not the status quo, actually, making a decision that something, as a result of this conference, is going to go different than it was before. I love, this is one of my favorite quotes. I learned from a smart person before that quotes and sayings are a great way to kind of get thinking about things. And this one is one of my favorites. It's by an Irish philosopher and avant-garde writer, James Joyce, who said that mistakes are portals of discovery. And I love the way that is. We spent about an hour with the Sphinx semifinalists yesterday talking about how we typically hear about successes. We hear about fun stories that really make the news, etc. And when you look at a successful person, you don't imagine that prior to achieving their success, perhaps there were 10 failures. So mistakes are just that. They're portals for discovery. So if you're anything like me, you're afraid of making mistakes. I'm afraid of making mistakes. The impact it has on others, what will other people think of you, what will my colleagues say, what will my board say, what will the neighbors say, etc. But I have great news. First of all, that's correct. We're absolutely guaranteed to not get it right all the time, or even most of the time. And some people will definitely not be pleased, and the change will not roll in overnight, making the world a different place, despite the little illustration we had in the beginning. But what will happen is that we will act mindfully, intentionally, and move things into the direction of our field of the arts, reflecting ourselves, reflecting each other, our society, our diversity, and the many stripes of the beach bowl. We will do so not only because it's the right thing to do, but because our beloved art form, that of music, theater, dance, film, and beyond, will be better for it. It will benefit from the richness of our perspectives, our experiences, our ideas, our images of beauty, the art, and inspiration. And this weekend, to keep us honest, engaged, fearless, and connected, is our one-of-a-kind facilitator, Jamie Bennett. Jamie is the executive director of Art Place America, a partnership among 15 foundations, 8 federal agencies, and 6 financial institutions working to position art and culture as a core sector of community planning and development. To date, Art Place has invested $85 million in 233 projects in communities of all sizes across our country, in which artists and arts organizations are working with their neighbors to help shape communities' social, physical, and economic futures. Having worn numerous hats, Jamie previously served as Chief of Staff at the National Endowment for the Arts, the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and to the President of Columbia University. He has provided strategic counsel at Agnes Gunt Foundation for 8 years, worked in fundraising at the Museum of Modern Art, the New York Philharmonic, and Columbia College. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, help me offer a fierce Detroit welcome to Jamie Bennett. So great to see you.
All right, how is everyone? Good? Excellent. So I think I'm here, as Af introduced, to sort of help us all go on this journey together. I think the reason that I was selected is that I'm the child of 2 public school teachers, so I know how to impart information in 50-minute chunks, which is what we're pretty much working with today. So the couple of housekeeping things I want to say is each session has an audience interaction component built in. We call it questions and answers. It usually turns into short speeches disguised as questions, but that's fine. And for the purposes of the broadcast and for the purposes of everyone else here, we're asking that all of the audience interaction come from a microphone. We have 2 stationary microphones. If you can't make it to one, just raise your hand, and we also have a roving mic, and we'll bring it to you. So most of our sessions are going to run with a presenter, and then a couple of respondents coming after that, and then we'll open it up to the room and for discussion.